Okay, class, this is the second video on connective tissue. Remember, just a brief review, we classify connective tissue based on the ground substance. So if the ground substance is a liquid, it's going to be our blood connective tissue. If it's syrupy and gel-like, it will be connective tissue proper. If the ground substance is firm but flexible, cartilage. If it's hard, it's bone. We've already went through connective tissue proper. There are 5 of them, so you must know those. We're now on to cartilage. So in class, normally I bring out a Petri dish to kind of demonstrate the ground substance, what it feels like. So if you've ever worked with a Petri dish before, you know this agar it's firm, but if you put your finger in it, it will bend a little bit. It's flexible. So this is basically, I want you to think of this as how the ground substance is. And it's going to be modified depending on what type of cartilage it is. We have 3 types of cartilage. 3 types of cartilage. Hyline cartilage, elastic cartilage, and fibrocartilage. I want you to look at how you spell these also. Hyline cartilage, 2 separate words. Elastic cartilage, 2 separate words. Fibrocartilage, 1 word. Never on any exam, if I say what kind of connective tissue is this, never put down hyaline. You have to write the word cartilage. So, what do you need to know about cartilage? We know its ground substance is firm but flexible. The main cell type for all cartilage connective tissue is going to be the chondrocyte. Cyte means cell, chondro means cartilage. So this is a cartilage cell. Chondrocytes are the main cell types. All cartilage tissue is avascular. We said connective tissue, one of the characteristics, it was vascular. There was going to be an exception. Well, cartilage is that exception. It is avascular. It heals very slow. So how do we get nutrients and oxygen to our chondrocytes? They are going to diffuse from a vascular, dense, irregular connective tissue called the perichondrium that surrounds the cartilage. Peri means around, chondro means cartilage. So we're going to see a little bit about, and we're going to talk a little bit about the perichondrium. And what's also unique to cartilage is each chondrocyte is surrounded by a space called a lacuna. Lacuna singular, lacunae plural. And when we see these, I'll talk to you about why we have these little lacunae. So here's a typical cartilage. You don't need to know which one it is yet, but I want to point out these spaces that are around the chondrocytes. So here's the nuclei of the chondrocyte, these dark little round circles. These are the nuclei of the chondrocytes. These spaces around them this is the lacuna. Here's the lacuna here. You can see all these lacunae around these cartilage cells, these chondrocytes. Here is the intercellular space. This is the matrix in between the chondrocytes. So why do we have these lacunae? So here is our perichondrium that's surrounding our avascular cartilage. Remember, perichondrium is a dense, irregular connective tissue that is very vascular. So we're going to get diffusion of nutrients and oxygen into the cartilage to feed our chondrocytes. So we're getting diffusion through this matrix. It's a slow diffusion. But once it gets to these lacunae, it quickly enters into the chondrocytes. It's like a little liquid space, a little island around these chondrocytes. So slow diffusion through this matrix. Finally, it reaches the lacunae of all these chondrocytes, and bam, it goes straight into the lacuna, and it's going to be able to feed this starving chondrocyte. And the waste that this cell, the chondrocytes give, can quickly diffuse out into the matrix. So I like to say these little lacunae are little islands that surround the chondrocytes. Lacuna matata, no worries. If you guys even remember The Lion King, Lacuna matata, no worries. So let's look at our different types of cartilage. Oh, why do I have this here? Well, number one, I grew up listening to Michael Jackson. I loved his music. I was a dancer, so I was always trying to follow Michael Jackson's dance moves. Here's the young Michael Jackson. Look at his progression of that nose and his face. Here he is, beautiful, beautiful, starts changing. So we know Michael had multiple surgeries on his nose. The nose is made of cartilage. Cartilage is extremely hard to heal. And a lot of times it doesn't heal properly and you have a problem. So this is one problem. His nose didn't heal properly and you're just left with a hole. I think I showed you, if not, I'll show you shortly. When you see a skeleton, there's just a hole here where the nose is, because the nose this is all cartilage. So extremely hard to heal. It's slow to heal when you have any damage. So Hyline Cartilage, our first cartilage, Hyline Cartilage. This is the most abundant cartilage. If you are ever asked on any quiz, exam, TEAS exam, what kind of cartilage it is, and you don't know, always say Hyline Cartilage. Chances are you'll get it right. Now in Hyline Cartilage, those chondrocytes that live in Hyline Cartilage, they secrete, they're still exocytosing their protein fibers, but it's going to be a very, very fine collagen protein fiber. You cannot really see it with a microscope. It's going to give the matrix, those protein fibers are going to give the matrix a glassy, translucent look. The function of Hyline cartilage is support, and it's to reinforce structures. So where do we find it? The costal cartilage of ribs. So here's our skeleton model. This is all bone. This is costal cartilage. This is all Hyline cartilage. Hyline cartilage. The cartilage of the nose. So this is all Hyline cartilage. When you see a skeleton, this is just an empty hole because the cartilage is here. The cartilage forms the structure of your nose. The tracheal cartilage. Here's the trachea. You have these cartilage rings that go around the trachea. They're to support the trachea, so when if your neck falls forward, it doesn't cut off the airflow into your lungs. Oops. So you have to keep this air tube open, so we're going to reinforce it with cartilage. And there's another part right above the trachea, it's the larynx. It has these big hyaline cartilage plates too. And we'll talk about that later when we get to the respiratory system. And hyaline cartilage covers the ends of all long bones. So wherever you have two bones that come together to form a joint of some sort, you're going to have hyaline cartilage. So lots of places for hyaline cartilage. So what does hyaline cartilage look like? Here's a slide of hyaline cartilage. If you see a space around a cell, you know these are lacunae, and you know this is going to be cartilage. So here's the lacunae, these white spaces. Here's the nuclei of the chondrocytes. Then what do? You look in the matrix. What does the matrix look like? This is a glassy, translucent matrix. You don't see much of anything in this beautiful matrix. This is hyaline cartilage. So this is another picture of hyaline cartilage. Here's the hyaline cartilage of the trachea. Do you remember what kind of epithelium lines the lumen of the trachea? You can't really see it here, but this is PSCC. Here is going to be our connective tissue down here. This is going to be dense irregular connective tissue. It's going to be a perichondrium that is going to surround the cartilage. Here's your hyaline cartilage. You see the lacunae. You see the matrix has that glassy, translucent look. Here's a close-up. Look at that matrix. Glassy, translucent. This is hyaline cartilage. Next cartilage, elastic cartilage. We still have chondrocytes in their lacunae, in their spaces, but the main protein fiber, these chondrocytes are going to be exocytosing into their matrix, is going to be elastic fibers. So elastic fibers, remember that protein fiber gives you the ability to stretch and recoil. The function of elastic cartilage is to maintain the shape of a structure and give it flexibility. So what does that mean? Your external ear, the top of your ear, if you can bend the top of your ear, right? And if you let it go, it's going to pop back up, right? That is elastic cartilage that's doing that. And there's another structure that we'll get to when we get to the respiratory system, the epiglottis. The epiglottis is a structure, a flap that will cover your air tube, so when you're eating or drinking food, it doesn't allow you to aspirate your food or drink. So the epiglottis, we'll get to that later. But elastic cartilage starts with an E. The two structures that are formed from elastic cartilage start with an E. So this should be on an index card also. So you look at this. Number one, does this look like hyaline cartilage? Does this matrix look like hyaline cartilage? Is this translucent or glassy looking? No. We have elastic protein fibers in here. These chondrocytes are huge, and their lacunae are much bigger than you see with hyaline cartilage. Here is another elastic cartilage. How do you know? You see lacunae. You have lacunae all over the place, so you know it's cartilage. Look at this matrix. Is it translucent and glassy? No, this one is filled to the max with these elastic protein fibers. So this is elastic cartilage. Also, look at the perichondrium here. You can see the dense irregular connective tissue around this elastic cartilage. And what else do you see down here? What other tissue type do you see down here? What other connective tissue do you see down here? Here is adipose tissue down here also. But where the pointer is at a chondrocyte. This is elastic cartilage. Our last cartilage is going to be fibrocartilage. Fibrocartilage. These chondrocytes make huge amounts of thick collagen fibers. This is the strongest of all our cartilages. The function is the ability to absorb compressive shock. What does that mean? It means if you are jumping up and down, it's going to help absorb the shock when you're jumping up and down. It's very strong. Where do you find it? Well, the pubic symphysis. You know where the pubic area is. Right here we have a hip bone here and a hip bone here. Here we have fibrocartilage that is holding these two pubic bones together. Very, very strong. You want this to be strong. You want this junction between the two hip bones to be a strong junction. So this is fibrocartilage. You also see it in the menisci of your knee. The knee is under tremendous pressure when you're jumping up and down. The knee is absorbing a lot of shock. Here's a bone here. Here's a bone down here. They're covered in hyaline cartilage. But within the knee, they're going to have an extra pad. And this pad is fibrocartilage. We call it the lateral meniscus and the medial meniscus. There's one on the medial side, one on the lateral side. Menisci is the plural, meniscus is the singular. So these menisci, this is a pad of fibrocartilage put in between in the knee joint. And the third place we're going to have fibrocartilage is the intervertebral discs. Intervertebral, in between the vertebrae, we're going to have discs made of fibrocartilage. If you say you had a slip disc, that's what you're talking about, these intervertebral discs. And this model showing you the intervertebral discs here. So 3 places you're going to find fibrocartilage: intervertebral discs, pubic symphysis, and the menisci of the knee. So what does this guy look like? So what does fibrocartilage look like? Well, we see lacunae. We see these white spaces around the chondrocytes. This is the nuclei of the chondrocytes, these kind of hot pink looking nuclei. So we know it's a cartilage, but this cartilage, number one, the lacunae and the chondrocytes are smaller than what you've seen. The matrix is filled with lots of collagen. All this blue wavy stuff in here is collagen. And there's so much collagen in the matrix, it's kind of pushing those chondrocytes and forming little rows of chondrocytes in their lacunae. So you're seeing little rows here of our lacunae and chondrocytes. Here's another picture, another photo from our classroom. Here is the lacunae with their chondrocytes in little rows, much smaller than what you saw with the elastic cartilage and hyaline cartilage. The matrix is filled with collagen. So that is fibrocartilage. So what I wanted to do is just go over what you have learned with connective tissue. I'm going to put some slides up and you should immediately be able to tell me what kind of connective tissue it is. This first one, what is this connective tissue? Nothing else looks like it. Dense, irregular connective tissue. Now this one, this slide from our classroom has two types of tissue. Number one, the pointer is in what kind of tissue? That is adipose tissue right here. But over here, what do you see? You see lacunae, so you know this is a cartilage. Look in the matrix, what do you see? Is this glassy or translucent? No, it's got some fibers in there. This is elastic cartilage. And here's the perichondrium on either side of it. So adipose tissue, elastic cartilage. What is this? What kind of connective tissue is this? First, what kind of protein fibers are these? These are reticular protein fibers. They make a mesh network. They help to support soft organs. What are the cells that you're seeing in the background of this tissue? These are the cells of the organ that this reticular connective tissue is in. So that's reticular connective tissue. We see our lacunae, so we know it's a cartilage. What kind of cartilage? Look in that matrix. It's glassy, translucent. This is Hyline cartilage. Pointer is in what kind of connective tissue? Nothing else looks like this. This is irregular connective tissue. The dark pink structures that are kind of fuzzy here, that's the collagen. These lighter ones, that's the elastic protein fibers. Irregular connective tissue. What is this? What kind of connective tissue is this? Look at that wavy pattern of the collagen in here. Parallel pattern of the collagen. This is dense, regular connective tissue. Dense, regular connective tissue. Why is it called dense? Because it's packed with all these protein fibers, these collagen protein fibers. Here's the fibroblasts, the nuclei, the flattened nuclei of the fibroblasts. Here we see lacunae surrounding our chondrocyte. They're kind of in rows here. And this matrix is filled with collagen. This is fibrocartilage. So we're done with our cartilage connective tissue. And I'm sure you were watching our connective tissue videos with this lab worksheet. Yes, it's telling you all the connective tissues you need to know for the upcoming quiz and exam. It has diagrams, pictures of all of them, and it has questions throughout the lab worksheet. So make sure you go through this lab worksheet when you're watching the videos. So we're done with connective tissue for now. And it's going to be on to the integumentary system.